Guys, check out this fantastic discovery that was made up in northern Germany, almost on the coast of the Baltic Sea in Nordholz, near Cuxhaven. Take a look at this. It's a StuG 3 Sturmgeschütz 3. It's an assault gun, a German self-propelled gun from World War II mounted on the Panzer III chassis. It's one of the most produced vehicles, the most produced armored vehicles by Germany in World War II, and one of the most successful. It's one of those champions that aren't glorified, unsung heroes. It's the kind of vehicle that nobody celebrates. Nobody buys a t-shirt with it on it. Nobody makes a movie about it. But this one is the real destroyer of enemy tanks in World War II. It's the StuG 3 because of its ease of production, meaning low cost, which results in large production numbers and a cannon. So it's quite effective for the size of the vehicle, which had a low silhouette, right? Look here, compared to the workers over there, how low its silhouette is. It's a low-profile vehicle. And those who work with armored vehicles, those who work with tanks, whether military personnel or enthusiasts, historians, know very well that the lower the vehicle, the less chance it has of being spotted, of being seen from a distance. Before we start getting into the details of this excavation, let me show you where Nordholz is. Take a look here. Nordholz is right here, already close to the border with Denmark in Schleswig-Holstein. So actually this is Lower Saxony, not Schleswig-Holstein yet. It's almost up here. But you can see Hamburg. It's the biggest city nearby, right? Bremen and Hamburg. And it's right here, look. This line here marks the municipality of Nordholz. And this place, it has an air base. It's an air base that was expanded during the Cold War, right? It's a NATO air base. And here, look, at this air base, at this airport here, actually a commercial airport, there's a base for a naval squadron. So there's a naval squadron from the Luftwaffe here. No, sorry, not the Luftwaffe, from the German Navy. There's a naval aviation squadron here. And here, man, the excavation was done near the air base. Can you see the planes here? And this excavation was done in this area right here, look. Okay. In this area that surrounds this air base. And now, I have to tell you what's most impressive about this finding here. This is the first of 5 StuGs that are buried in this area. Look at the extent of the excavation work that was done to get this vehicle out of there. And you can see that it's a very sandy soil, which is moist, right? Because it's close to the sea, it's moist. So 80 years of exposure to this soil really caused corrosion problems in the metal. But look at how the vehicle is surprisingly intact. I'll show you other photos so you can get a better idea. Look at how the vehicle is surprisingly intact. Look at the rubber here, see? From the suspension, right? Look at the rubber on his road wheels. The rubber seems to be intact from what I can tell. But 5 StuGs, which means they've probably already done a study with radar. Underground here, look. So they can read what's underneath the ground there and find out what's there before they start digging. And of course, based on the echoes you can find, you know what kind of vehicle it is. So I've already researched some sources here. Some say this is the first of 5 StuGs. Others say it's the first of 4 StuGs. But there's also a Hetzer in there. Remember the Hetzer? Which is the tank destroyer version of the Panzer 38T. So there's another Hetzer. And there's a Marder too, man, a Marder. Wow, this Marder. You have to know which Marder. I didn't see exactly which one it is, whether it's the Marder 1, 2, or 3. But it's a self-propelled artillery, rarer than the StuGs. So that's pretty interesting. And finally, it seems that the radars also found the wreckage of a Junkers W-34. It's also a pretty rare little plane. So, we might be witnessing here the beginning of the excavation of a real treasure trove of World War II vehicles. If they manage to overcome Germany's bureaucracy, which is pretty tough, they'll be restored and put on display in museums. I would tell you that right now, the Weld Foundation over in the United Kingdom and the Wheatcroft Collection are already keeping an eye on these vehicles here. They're already keeping an eye on these vehicles. We have other news about Wheatcroft that I'll tell you about on another occasion here. But do you guys want to know what vehicle this is? This vehicle here, historians have already connected some dots. It probably belonged to the Fallschirmjäger Sturm Brigade 12. 12th Assault Gun Brigade or 12th Assault Gun Brigade of the paratroopers, the Fallschirmjäger. So it wasn't an army vehicle, it was a Luftwaffe vehicle. That's strange, isn't it? But the Luftwaffe in World War II, since it was basically an institution belonging to Hermann Göring, who was the big power broker of the Third Reich, it expanded to become an air-ground force. Since the beginning of the war, Hermann Göring already controlled all the anti-aircraft artillery. Throughout World War II, it was the Luftwaffe that controlled the anti-aircraft artillery, not the army. But in the last years of the war, the Luftwaffe not only created infantry divisions, the Felddivisionen, but also created armored divisions, man. Fallschirmpanzer divisions. So, this vehicle here belonged to a paratrooper assault gun brigade. In January 1944, I'll show you that it's these guys here. Look, in January 1941, several officers, sergeants, and soldiers from the paratrooper force were assigned to assault gun schools. Why? Because at that time, in January 1944, the German industry's difficulty in producing tanks was really significant. Tanks are expensive, the new models were heavy tanks, and the older models, like the Panzer IV, were being pushed beyond their operational limits to keep performing. So the StuG became a low-cost, highly efficient alternative. So Hermann Göring wanted a piece of that StuG glory, right? So he opened this new StuG school for the Luftwaffe and distributed these people, as I told you, officers, sergeants, soldiers, to various army schools to train these Luftwaffe soldiers to operate StuGs. And then, by the middle of 1944, the 12th Brigade Sturm Brigade Assault Gun Brigade was positioned in Normandy. This is the brigade you see here, and it's this brigade that ended up in Nordholz in 1945, abandoned the vehicles there, and over time those vehicles were buried. And today, more than 80 years later, they've been found. Isn't that interesting? They had their baptism of fire. The 12th Brigade had their baptism of fire in Normandy, right, with the Allied assault on June 6th, D-Day. They defended that central area there, look, of Sword Beach, behind Bahia. They defended that area. And they were being pushed back by the British. Actually, they were close to the place where the Battle of Villers-Bocage happened, right? Between Michael Whitman's Tiger and the guys from the British 7th Armored Division. And they were pushed eastward until they ended up trapped inside the Falaise Pocket. That was at the Normandy campaign's end. But the guys from the 12th Brigade managed to break through the Falaise Pocket. They weren't one of the units that were completely destroyed there, and they managed to cross the Seine River. moving to the east bank of the Seine. So these guys made it to the rear base there in the Netherlands and northern Germany, and they even fought in the Netherlands during Operation Market Garden. These guys retreated to Germany and still fought in the Ardennes, to, in the end, be taken north again and fight against them. Montgomery's 12th Army Group, until the end of the war. In the meantime, several officers and sergeants became assault gun aces. One of these guys was this young man here, the commander of the 3rd Company, a lieutenant named Heinz Deutsch. Heinz Deutsch, the most German name possible, Heinz German. So, Henry German. So, Heinz Deutsch, in his career, had no less than 47 armored vehicle kills. On April 28, 1945, he was awarded the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross for a campaign that had been going on since the beginning of March, there in the Cuxhaven region against the British, in which he destroyed in a series of actions 17 armored vehicles. 17 armored vehicles. So Heinz Deutsch was awarded the Knight's Cross on April 28, 1945, becoming one of the last German soldiers to receive this decoration, which was only extended for a few more days after that. Heinz Deutsch survived the war and died in 1995. He was about 85 years old at the time. Why am I talking about Heinz Deutsch, man? Because let's take another look at the StuG that was discovered. And let's take a look here, okay? Take a look right here, okay? On the StuG's cannon. Some enthusiasts out there already know what I want to show here, right? What are you seeing there? Those white discs here, these circular white marks around the cannon are victory markings. They're kill markings. It's not clear, right? Because there's still a lot of dirt, a lot of debris here. Look, still around the cannon. But look how many discs there are here. Look how many kill markings there are here. See? This vehicle belonged to an ace, man. This vehicle here belonged to an ace. And almost the entire length of the cannon is covered with kill markings, right? Look, if I count here, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20. So could it be that I also counted wrong? Could this StuG here be Heinz Deutsch's StuG? Could it be? Of course, when they find the vehicle's serial number, maybe they'll be able to cross-check it with the unit's logs, right? From what I know, from what I've researched here, the unit's logs still exist. They haven't been destroyed. So maybe they'll be able to identify the vehicle as being Heinz Deutsch's vehicle. Let's take a look at the other images here. Look at this cool image from above. Here too, you can see the discs there. Look, the victory discs. The commander's cupola with the periscopes here. Then you can see how small this vehicle was, right? Its superstructure, which replaced the turret, made it really low, really small. And in any cross-section view you have of this vehicle here, you can see how the 4 crew members were squeezed in there, right? Of this vehicle here, which really was like a little beetle, you know, of the German armored force, the StuG 3. And from here, we can also see how complete the vehicle is, right? How complete it is. And it even seems to me that it might not take too much work to restore it, right? To bring it back to its full glory. Look here, a photo of the back of the car as well. From what I read as well, the engine is there. The engine is inside here, right? The StuG's engine is complete. It might lead maybe to restoring the engine. How?
Como
With the intention of getting the vehicle running again, I don't know if it'll just become a static display or if it'll actually run. I'd love for it to run again, you know? Today we have a lot of StuGs out there, not a lot, but a few StuGs running around that are actually adaptations of a British car from the 60s. They changed the entire superstructure and put a StuG superstructure on it, a replica. There's even a British company that sells this, and they sell it worldwide, you know? These StuG replicas, but man, you can really tell mainly by the suspension system, right? The wheels, the whole set of wheels is different. And even though to a layperson it might look the same, for those of us who know a bit more, it's obvious that it's not, right? Finally, here, look, a view of the inside of the vehicle. I believe this here is the gun loader's view, right? This here is the gun loader's view. On this side here, you would have the commander's position, right? Here is the rear of the vehicle. The firewall here goes straight to the engine, right? And over here would be the front, right? This here is the breech of the weapon of the 75mm cannon. And here we can see the elevation controls, maybe. And maybe the controls of the StuG's cannon. Right? So damn, now we have a reason to keep following this excavation. I'm really going to keep up with this to see what the next developments are, because I'm very interested. It's really hard to pull off that kind of hit, right? In a single day, so many armored vehicles at once. Imagine the experience of the guy who ran that radar over the site for the first time and managed to see that many buried vehicles at a depth that's not even that great. Look at this, huh? It's not that deep. Look at the tower. Let's see if we can figure out where it is. Look at the control tower with that building. Now let's go back here. The control tower. Oh, I found it here. Look, here, look. See it? The tower, and with the building, and 2 poles here. Shall we go? The tower with the building and 2 poles here. So, since we're seeing them from this position, this excavation probably happened right here. Look, this is the plot of land. Maybe the excavation was here. Maybe here, judging by the distance. Well, I don't know, but the cars.
estão enterrados
In this area here, look, from Nordholz Airport. Cool news, right? So, if you want to keep following this kind of development, subscribe here to the War Room so you don't miss notifications. Did you like this video? Share it with your friends too. Also, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss anything else. I'll stop here. Thank you again for watching, and here's a big hug from the War Room.